Welcome back to the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel. Another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files. I'm your host, Steve Keeler from Rock Fantasy. I've got John McEntee in the house from the Mighty Incantation. We got Denny Barth from the Mighty Aggression. We got Ovi, our resident Viking from Norway. And we've got our local metal historian here, Count Ralphus. Having some problems with my internet. I'm hoping it's going to work this time. So tonight we have yet another somber episode as we mourn the passing of Tomas Lindberg, also known as Tompa and Goatspell. He was a Swedish vocalist who fronted many death metal bands, most notably AtThe. He was active as a musician and composer since the late 1980s. And from what I gather, he also taught social studies, is one of my notes read here. He is formerly of AtThe, Dysphere, The Great Deceiver, Lockup, Grotesque, Night Rage, The Crown, and Skit System. In August of 2025, it was revealed on AtThe Facebook and Instagram pages that Lindberg had been treated and been battling mouth palate cancer, which he was diagnosed in December of 2023, resulting in him having various surgeries, part of his mouth removed. I guess we don't need to go in total details on that, but this was revealed the reason for the band's continued silence and activity in the new album's progress. On September 16th, just a day ago, David Isberg, formerly of Opeth, announced on Facebook that Lindberg had died from the disease early that day. He was only 52 years old. So we just figured we'd throw this episode together. AtThe. I mean, just such a great band and so iconic. And we'll talk a little bit about AtThe. They're a Swedish melodic death metal band. If somebody's watching this doesn't know, they're from Gothenburg. They formed in 1990. The band was a major progenitor. I can't even talk now. I'm screwing everything up with the Gothenburg style melodic death metal sound, along with like Bands in Flames and Dark Tranquillity. Prior to their first disbanded in 1996, AtThe had released 4 albums, ending with and including Slaughter of the Soul, which has been a landmark in the mid-1990s Swedish death metal scene. After reuniting for a one-off tour in 2008, the band reformed again in 2011, and they have since released 3 more albums: At War with Reality in 2014, To Drink from the Night Itself 2018, and then Nightmare of Being 2021, which is their last album that they released. I wanted to just go around and we didn't really make any rules for this episode. I just figured we'd honor his memory and AtThe, talk about whatever, and just try to do kind of memoriam. We just did one for Brent Hines of Mastodon. We've done it for Ozzy. It just seems like there's been so much loss this summer. Just folks I know locally. It's just been a summer that I think it's time to move into fall because it's been nothing but kind of bad news for some of us. So a little dark. It was a dark summer, I guess, for some of us. So anyhow, we got John McEntee, we got Denny Barth, we got Ovi, we Count Ralphus. I'm going to kick this off with John McEntee. Hopefully my internet stays on this time.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. And yeah, it's a terrible to hear about the news of Thomas. Unfortunately, I knew about his sickness for quite some time, or the cancer and stuff. But of course, you're always hoping that people come out of it. But yeah, basically, I wanted to just give a brief rundown of how I know him. I mean, he wrote to me in the early 90s, probably 1990 or something, or 91 or somewhere around that time, wanting to trade with me releases, just what we used to do back then. And that, ever since that first time of kind of, trading stuff, through the underground and stuff, we became pen pal friends. And then just, friends that I would see, like I seen them when they toured with Morbid Angel and Dissection on the US tour. Was the first time we met in person. There's actually a picture of me somewhere with myself, Will Romer, and Thomas, back when he had his dreadlocks and stuff that was at the Agora in Cleveland when I was living out there. And yeah, I mean, I've seen him throughout the years. I've seen him a couple of times. We played with him with some of his various bands that he was in, but I've been starting to see him a lot more since AtThe came back together. And it was just one of those people that no matter what, size bands they're playing in or what success they have. He's always very humble of a person, and there's always something special about the kind of people when you see them. You could tell, like, they light up, their face lights up when they see you, kind of person. And that's the way he was to his friends. He was always very excited to see people. I mean, I can only speak for myself and, my friends, but I mean, a lot of us knew him for a long time. So I don't know if it was a nostalgia thing, but I'm kind of thinking that he just one of those people that has a lot of, charisma, like welcoming charisma and a lot of appreciation for, being a part of such a, a cool scene. I mean, I just don't know anybody that's ever really had a problem with them. Or I mean, like everybody I know is a friend of Thomas's and stuff, and just he just seemed like, uh, he's a humble dude, but like, friendly to everybody and nice to everybody, and just I just never really seen him unhappy. It's like he's just always excited. So it's
Mm.
just one of those things that you really look forward to, when we know we're going to play with At the Gates, or, I know he's playing for the Crown for a while. I think I seen him in that, and this Fear. But every time you'd see him, it would just be an exciting thing. I mean, all the guys in At the Gates are all really nice people, but Thomas was kind of the one that would maybe go a little bit out of the way to like want to say what's up to you, or I mean, like at Neurotic Death Fest, I think was where we play with. It was in Netherlands, maybe 8 years back or 7 years back. I can't remember exactly. I mean, he even bought an Incantation shirt, without even saying anything, which I would have gladly gave it to him. I mean, I wouldn't want to trade it probably for At the Gate shirt, but it was just nice to know after the show he's walking around with an Incantation shirt on. And I was just like, that was, super cool, especially just he made a huge impact on the metal world.
Mm.
And a lot of people, unfortunately, they make the kind of impact he did, and they kind of lose some of that humility. And so he started to get a little bit too high on himself, but he was never like that. He was always one of the coolest. And like I said, I don't think any band you talk to, that does a lot of touring, or say especially from my generation or maybe a little bit after, knows Thomas. And I highly doubt anyone has anything bad to say about him. I couldn't imagine it. He's always been the nicest. And I was absolutely heartbroken that when I heard about his cancer. I heard about it a little while ago. He messaged me about it, but he told me to keep it on a down low, which I did, out of respect to him. And he was hoping to make it out to our show. We were playing in Gothenburg, with Left to Die and Us last year. He really wanted to make it out, and we were in close contact. And he just wanted to make sure that he could do it, where it's not a public ish thing. It could be behind the scenes or whatever. But unfortunately, when a day came, he just wasn't feeling well enough to do it. So it's really sad that we didn't get that opportunity to, see him one last time. I mean, we didn't know it was going to be a last time, but I was hoping he would be there, and I was hoping that I'd be able to be part of, bring the spirits up, or just get him to enjoy, hanging out with some old friends and stuff. I know he really wanted to, see Rick Ross and Terry Butler and all those guys too. So it was a sad thing, but I really appreciate the fact that he did reach out to me and wanted to see me. I mean, of course, I didn't know how severe it was or whatever at the time. So, but just nice to know that he was thinking of me and stuff. And I just hope that, you know, I, I don't know. I just hope that people just appreciate, what he's done for the music scene, and understand that he really was one of the good people out there that really just loved music and loved hanging out with these kind of people, metalheads, and just punk rocker types and stuff like that. Like, he just was a true underground dude. And he really should be put up as an example of how to be as a musician, is always to just appreciate what you have and just appreciate the people you get to hang out with. I mean, yeah. So it's it's scene. So I felt like it was important to say something because these days I really like to keep a lot of my feelings to myself with people that are passing, just because I take it more personal when you start seeing more and more of your friends passing.
Mhm.
So
Well put.
sorry to be so morbid.
Hey, I'm glad to have you on there because you knew him, and that's why we're doing this episode.
Well,
Pretty
I,
much.
I knew I had to when you mentioned me because it's important for me to let people know that how good of a dude he is. Luckily, I think he was so cool that most people knew that, but I just, for like people in the music industry, everybody knows that he's like one of the nicest dudes out there. Really, really was. It's not an exaggeration by any means.
I tell you what, such a great performer too. I mean,
Hmm.
vocals and just such a strong frontman. And my first time seeing them, I didn't see him back in the day like some of you guys. My first time seeing At the Gates with him was in New York City at the PlayStation Theater on the Behemoth tour
Hmm.
2018 with Wolves in the Throne Room. And man, they fucking killed it. And then I got to see him again in 2019 on October 12th. So both kind of the same time of the year at the Hammerstein. And they were warming up Amon Amarth and Arch Enemy. Grand Magus were there. And they were so great. And I just wanted to see them again. And I never got the chance to see At the Gates again. Was going to go to in 2020. I bought tickets to go to Vegas for the Psycho Las Vegas, and I started looking at the lineup. I'm like, oh shit! Like At the Gates is there, and there was so many great bands on that.
Hmm.
And of course, I never made it because COVID happened, and then I think they did have that festival the year later, but I wasn't able to travel out there for one reason or another. So I never got to see them. That was my last time seeing them, 2019. It just struck me when I heard the news because I'm like, I'm never going to get to see him perform and never going to see that. Maybe we'll see At the Gates again. Who knows? But without him, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing too to obviously mention is that the impact that At the Gates had when Slaughter of Souls came out was just
Mm.
totally out of control. They basically like invented like metalcore, or I think it was metalcore came from that, or like those, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just really it was really crazy for me because I always looked at them as just a killer death metal band or whatever,
Yeah.
and just crazy that that album spawned so much in a different way that I didn't even realize. Like I didn't relate to metalcore stuff. I don't. It's kind of funny because I don't even think the band necessarily related themselves with the
Mm.
whole metalcore thing, but the metalcore thing, sure, they embraced them and just ran with the ball with
Yeah.
that style like no tomorrow. It basically, because of them, a lot of bands I think have an amazing career, a huge career. Bigger than At the Gates even um, were. But I think their fault, unfortunately, was that they broke up, you know, too soon or whatever. Like
Yeah.
as soon as they got really popular, they broke up. And I can't speculate for sure, but just obviously they weren't doing it just for the fame and the money, or else they wouldn't have broke up when they got to be the biggest,
Mm.
they've ever have been around that
Yeah.
time.
So John, what some of your favorite material from At the Gates? Is it the early stuff?
Yeah, I love Slaughter Souls. It's one of the best,
Mhm.
really one of the best like catchy death metal albums out there. I thought it was just interesting because when they were doing The Red in the Sky Is Ours, it was way more progressive and a lot more experimental, while
Mhm.
still being kind of underground and stuff. And I like that a lot. But I was kind of surprised with the evolution because they went from that to like Slaughter of Souls was probably closer to a Raining Blood style
Mm.
album than anything progressive or something, but it was just an interesting way that they're able to kind of slowly over next couple, because it was 92 I think when The Red in the Sky came out,
Mm.
and but I think they released an album each year until Slaughter of the Souls, and
Hmm.
each one slowly changed into, a lot more, say, accessible, but not like in a bad way. It was still really aggressive and had the attack to it. It just they were able to organize it in a way that just like shorter songs, but still had the catchy stuff, but still had interesting stuff in the songs too. I mean, but yeah, for me, it's really the first four albums are
Hmm.
really the ones that I really dig, and of course, I really dig is stuff in Grotesque too.
Yeah.
But and I can't remember, haven't listened to the work he did in The Crown for a while. I don't really remember that
Hmm.
offhand. And I listened to some of the albums since they got back and stuff. What was it? The first one I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But At War with Reality, it was one of them. I thought it was good. I mean, I liked the stuff they did later on too. It was
Yeah.
good, but it just never stuck with me as the first four. But I think that's with almost anybody. It's like kind of like what you grew up with and what you kind
Yeah.
of grew like. Because look at it like this. I mean, our bands, of course, At the Gates is way bigger than us and different, but we were all growing as bands at that time and like kind of like working side by side in our own little way or whatever in the scene. So those are always the albums that really connect to me a lot, or like,
Hmm.
awesome albums by your peers that kind of inspire you to want to be better as a musician or a songwriter.
I absolutely love the song from the album Drink from the Night itself. I don't know. It was like my anthem when I was in a down mood. It's like, we're gonna go out and drink from the night itself, of course, from Bela Lugosi. And I'm going in the city for metal shows or simply just letting loose and having some fun after a tough day or a tough week. I don't know.
Well,
That was like my anthem. We would go to the city and like, we're going to drink from the night itself tonight and go to a show. So I
that sounds
really,
like hanging out with Thomas,
I
it
never
kind of
got
represents
sounds
that.
like I would have loved to meet him, but of course I never got
Yeah.
a chance. But yeah, I like all the material. I was
I
listening to the Nightmare of Being today, and that was one of my top albums in 2021. I know that some people were turned off because there was like horns and stuff on that album. It's very proggy. It was
But that's just them going back to
yeah,
the Red in the Sky is Ours kind of thing.
yeah,
That album had a lot of keyboard and a lot of like
true.
violin stuff. I
Yeah.
remember just all over the place. So I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that from that they're going to
Mm.
take a turn
Yeah,
during that, and that's probably showing you that they're comfortable enough that they just want to do what they want to do, album wise, not
true.
necessarily just give people the
Yeah, I was listening to
tripe.
that whole album today while I was out mowing the lawn out back and doing yard work. It's like, man, I like all the stuff. And I dove into some of the earlier stuff that I hadn't listened to in a while in the last 2 days. So I've been cramming it. So Danny
Yeah,
Barth, what's up with you over there? What do you got to say?
I'm good. Just similar to John and your comments, like a lot of cool, good people leaving us, and it seems to be more frequent these days. And never had the chance to meet him. I've been near him, but never had the I try not to go and interrupt people when they are like having unless it's John, then I'll just go and interrupt whoever talks. Unless it's somebody important, then I'll back up. But yeah, but I know a lot of my friends who know him, and exactly what John says. It's an overwhelming 100%, 5 out of 5 rating when it comes to personality, kindness. Like even Robin wanted to
yes.
potentially come on the show, but she couldn't because she would cry the entire
That's
episode.
what Sophia told me.
Uh,
I immediately asked Robin. I was trying to get the core back together from a few years ago.
yeah,
I reached out to Will Carroll. I don't know if he got the message or not too. Then just try to get the core back and just to do that,
yeah.
honor him.
So,
She
so
sent
yeah, like
me a
I
show.
feel like even I'm really close to the guy from Napalm Vet and Venomous Concept, and he was doing Lockup with them, some of the guys, and you can tell they're very affected by the news. And kudos to the guy for being in such a industry filled with, I guess, not so pleasant personalities that he can just stay himself and just be super cool. Still same as he was when he was a kid, I'm assuming, and just kept just being humble and having fun, meeting people and making friends, and that's what the metal community is supposed to be about. So, um, that's from the personal side. From the professional side, um, you know, I at the Gates is always the band that I saw live, that I listened to records. I would never name them as like, my influential band or favorite bands, but similar to The Haunted, like I always have good experience seeing them live or listening to their tunes. So this episode got me to go back to the catalog. And of course, Slaughter of the Soul does stand out because, as John mentioned, all the albums previously was a slow progression towards that masterpiece, and they influenced so many Swedish band that came after, like In Flames and other
Mm.
bands. I mean, if you would ask me what I think of In Flames right now, probably not the positive comment. But if I go back to listen to their two, three first records, like there's a lot of amazing solo work and things like that, and I think it was directly influenced by some of the stuff that At the Gates was doing. And At the Gates was a kind of like a melodic metal, death metal bands that to me was almost bringing the heaviness but being catchy at the same time, which was missing from the bands I like Incantation and Morbid Angel. It was more about putting your head through a grinder. I felt like At the Gates was bringing a little bit more melody to the music,
Yeah.
and I was very impressed. Like when I heard their album 2018, I know 2021, The Nightmare of Being, um, that song with the saxophone, and like it fucking caught me by surprise because I was like, okay, this is unusual, but to make it sound as fucking part of it as these guys were able to make it happen. I never knew that I like saxophone. I guess aside from listening to Supertramp when I drink like 22 beers and then I like the song, but to be able to be that creative and have no barriers on how to write music is super inspiring to me. And these guys were able to get to that type of sound just by being always a little bit, I guess, like they didn't have a problem taking risk as songwriters and being able to incorporate things that were not necessarily like indie death metal cookie cutter. I gotta be in there. If not, they're gonna think I'm fucking bad or whatever. They don't give a shit about that, which people shouldn't anyway. But so yeah, I saw them three times. I saw them I had to write notes so I remember, but I saw them in Montreal in 2008 with Darkest Hour and Municipal Waste. When I think there was a reunion tour
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that. I saw them in Vancouver at the venue with Converge and Paul Bearer for the Decibel tour, and then I saw them again in 2018 with Behemoth
Yeah.
and Wolves in a Throne Room. Amazing fucking black metal band, weird guys. But yeah, so I saw them, and every time, like you get all these concert announcements, and then you see that At the Gates is there. Okay, let's go. You're just going because you know you're gonna have a quality concert.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I have to say. Like it the only thing it does for me, like seeing all these people like passing away and things like that is I feel privileged, lucky, and to be alive and to be fairly healthy and being able to function and instead of filling the world with negativity and shit, I'm just trying to be positive every day, have a good day, help
Yep.
people around me, and that's what this situation does for me. Like I feel for their family and friends and bands. But personally, I take it as like thanks for the reminder that life is not guaranteed, right?
Mm.
So
You never
that's
know.
all. I know I'm philosophical right now and
Yes.
going deep, but that's what it
Well,
does for me. But great legacy, and that guy will not be forgotten.
no, no. Big loss for the metal community.
Yep.
Count Ralphus, what's going on down there?
Yeah, so I got to see him on the Slaughter to Soul tour.
Right.
They played the Chance. I tried to find the exact date for it, and
Hmm.
I think it might have been one of those shows that they just like drew in once they came here, and it was like a day off, and they slipped it in, maybe playing New York City the day before, the day
Yeah.
after, because it was a weird night. So I go to the show and I bring one of those fun savers because this is like '96. No one's got cell phones. I bring a fun saver, but it's only got 20 pictures, and I'm not thinking of hanging out with the band afterwards or nothing. So I take all 20 pictures of like my friends hanging out and the band's on stage. So I got a couple pictures I put up on Facebook and stuff of them playing the Chance, and
Yeah.
I seen John had put up a really good picture with hanging out with them earlier today. But so after the show, there's like 20 people hanging out, and both bands, Napalm and At the Gates, are hanging out in the parking lot of the Chance for like a half an hour. Then people start splitting, and Mitch Harris like talks to us, and he's like, "Hey, he's like, the Chance just gave us a case of beer. He's like, we have to stick around till like 4 in the morning before we leave." Because I guess they were playing the City the next day, and they didn't want to drive into the city in the middle of the night and stuff. So they were like wasting time. So they said, we're just gonna be sitting here if you guys want to hang out and drink. So we were like, all right, great, and like most of the people had left. There was still like 6 or 7 of us there, but we ended up hanging out till like 4 in the morning. We drank their whole case of beer, and like most of the guys from the bands ended up going back in the bus after a short while. Like they hung out for a little bit, but then they went in the bus, and Thomas was one of them. I did get to meet him, and there was a guy there who still had pictures left in his camera, and he took a bunch of pictures of us all hanging out with him. And I got the guy's address that night, and I wrote to him the next day saying, "Here's $5. Send me doubles of the pictures that you took." And he sent me the $5 back, and something happened to the pictures; they didn't come out or something. But I had pictures with like all of At the Gates and Napalm Death guys that night. But I only have my live shots from left over. But they were really awesome. The brothers were the ones that were really hanging out. The Bajola brothers there. I almost say Jonas brothers because the one guy is Jonas and Anders. They hung out like the whole time with Mitch Harris and Jesse from Napalm Death were hanging out. But they didn't really talk too much. I don't know if they spoke good English, but they were sitting there like listening, and we just were talking music with Mitch all night, and it was just awesome. It was just hanging out, drinking their beers and stuff. It was a really great memory. And At the Gates was just amazing that night. My first album I ever got from them, I didn't go all the way back to the early days. My first one was the Terminal Spirit Disease, is what I
Nice.
got, and then get to see him on Slaughter the Soul. And I got like when they reunited, I got the first two that they did, but I didn't buy the last album. I got to still get around to that. And, yeah, I was just saying like how amazing his vocals were, and listening to Lock Up today, and it like every band, it's so fucking powerful the way he sings and stuff. Just incredible vocalist, great frontman on stage too. As it goes on with his vocals, like some of the later albums, I hear like even Chuck from Death a little bit, and then even like the Tardy guy's brother, Tardy from Obituary, like I hear at times in the later albums, and that is a pretty experimental album. The very last one, like you guys were saying with the horns and stuff, but it didn't like it definitely stood out because you never heard that with them before, but it kind of fits with them being like progressive throughout all the years, but keeping it heavy. And like John was saying earlier about they broke up like right when they were blowing up. Like they were becoming the band that influences all these bands, this whole sound, and then they break up, and then these other bands come in and they get to like step in and take kind of off from there. Like they're like the stepping stone for these bands to get really big. And then, it's cool when they come back, like they got like a cult status and people are excited that they're back and stuff. But it would have been great to see them continue from Slaughter the Soul onward. It would have been they would have been a lot bigger, But yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. It's just really sad. Fuck cancer. It's a horrible summer, horrible year for me. I mean, I've had I had 3 family members die this year, and there's other people, like we all know other people that just die and stuff. But then you get Ozzy dying, and it just seems like every couple of weeks now it's something we're losing more and more. So definitely get out there and catch the bands while you can, because there's no guarantee that they're coming back tomorrow.
You just never know.
Get out there and see them. Fuck cancer.
Obi,
Yeah.
let's go before the internet goes out again. Let's hear your
Right.
in case we have to end this again.
My story with him, it would be I got introduced to Grotesque back in '96 because they released their EP Incantation from 1990, and at the time, I don't know if John got the tape perhaps back in '89 with In the Embrace of the Evil. Because In the Embrace of Evil was unreleased in '89, but they put it on like the re-release because they got together, I guess, back in '96 and recorded 2 more songs in Grotesque and gave out like a compilation, I guess, like a full album kind of deal. But I mean, listening to Grotesque when he was Goatspell, and I mean his vocals back then, already back in '89 in the Embrace of Evil, I mean some of the screams, some of the vocal things that he did back then is like it's the most brutal thing I've ever heard in my life from '89. The Embrace of Evil EP or demo is so brutal because the sound is so raw, and it's so like it's the most evil demo I've heard, I think, because the Incantation EP, they have better production, so it doesn't have the same impact as the Embrace of Evil EP. But as for At the Gates, I didn't particularly listen to At the Gates before later years because, like Dennis was referring to, At the Gates was the popular ones, and they were not the hardest band out there. And for me, I was 14, 15 at the time, and Sort of the Soul came out, so I was chasing what the most brutal bands you could find, like Incantation and so forth. So At the Gates kind of flew past my radar because they weren't the hardest thing out there, like Incantation or like Dark Funeral or Necrophobic or yeah. But I got to see At the Gates in 2023, the 5th last concert they ever did, or 4th. It depends if they one concert. I couldn't find a set list for one of them, so I don't know if Thomas was feeling unwell already back then, because this is just half a year before he got diagnosed. So as for the concert, they did 3 songs, and they did the whole Slaughter of the Soul album, like live from start to finish. So I got my first time hearing Slaughter of the Soul was live. And that was kind of a unique experience because, sounding things live is never going to be the same as the album thing. So it's more dynamic. There's more variations live. I mean, there can be fuck ups, there can be this, there can be that, but still the rawness and kind of like the dynamics of the album is quite different live. So it was really cool hearing that live. But as for the albums, I think the first album for me is probably what I like best. I know, though, reading about his death, that he recorded all the vocals for the last album that hasn't come out right before he started chemo. So they did the vocals first before any music, and that's kind of a unique way to go about things. So there will be another At the Gates album, I guess. But when, or I don't know, but I understood on interview with Thomas that it's gonna be Slaughter of the Soul, the album before Slaughter of the Soul, kind of ish sound. So I guess maybe he knew that things were not going so well, because I read a little about the very rare type of cancer he had, because it's like 45% chance of living the first time you get it, and the second time you get it, it's 18%, and it's one of those rare ones. So
Horrible.
yeah.
So yeah, I just read that
Being
too.
that it's part of his mouth, it's like that's gonna he knew that that's gonna affect his vocals. So you could see him maybe planning on, hey, let's try to get some vocals, because I'm not gonna be able to do it at all if I'm
Mhm.
getting chemo for my mouth and radiation up in that area or whatever, So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tragic and horrible. Yeah.
So he made a testament, but because it's kind of unique. I don't know if I've heard about a death metal album that has been recorded vocals before any music before. So that's going to be interesting to hear what they kind of make around his vocals.
Yeah,
yeah, that is weird.
for sure. Well,
I'm
glad
sure they could do it.
touch
Mhm.
base on this tonight, and sorry we had so many problems with the internet, and we're gonna try to patch it together, make it into one episode. Most we could, words come to words, I could do a two-parter, but yeah. John, any finishing words before we wrap this one up, I guess?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I'll just say that you know, it's a big loss for the metal community. You know, like I mentioned, he was really one of the good people out there. I mean, all at the gates are very very nice guys, but he's definitely a big loss for the metal scene. For you'll see a lot of old school underground people. It's a big loss for.
Yeah.
It's one of those bands where they weren't the most brutal band of the our time, but they definitely had the most catchiness, and were extremely interesting and experimental. And yeah, I mean, a great band, and I'm proud to have considered him a friend of mine. And I just know that the work that he did, had an impact, and I'm just happy that he was able to see it in his lifetime with all these bands that did so well. Like I said, using Slaughter of the Souls to be a stepping stone for this whole metalcore thing. Even though I don't think metalcore was necessarily his intention, but it's still an amazing thing to be able to create a whole genre of metal
Sure.
from the stuff that you create out of your own minds, and doing it with. And I'm sure with the way they did it just the way they wanted to. I know those guys, they're stubborn. They're good guys, but they're stubborn at what they want to do. And I know they did it their way, which was awesome. It's awesome to see a successful, people doing what they love doing and not conforming.
For sure, for sure.
He'll be missed, and my heart goes out to all his friends and fans. And so many of my friends I know are hurting right now. So condolences to his family, and yeah, his friends and everybody. I don't know. It just sucks, It
It
sucks to do
does.
this.
It sure does. And I tell you, it just seems like every day you're almost afraid to go put on the social media, whatever, because it just seems like it's just nonstop,
Yeah, an important thing that Denny said was that you got to use these reminders of these people passing to make the most out of your life, and to
Yes.
try to do you know the right thing, for yourself and for your friends. And just you know, there's so much bullshit in the world, and there's so much
Mhm.
stuff that wants to get everybody, against each other. But, these are
Yeah.
the moments to remember that, it's just sometimes things, just let things be simple in your life, and just be a
Yeah.
good person and do the right thing and follow your heart, and try not to screw anything up for other people while you're at it.
For sure. John,
Yeah.
you're coming to Long Island on Friday. We shot this episode up before then, even though we have to splice it and send it to Denny, I think.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're playing this
Yeah.
weekend up here?
Yeah, we're playing with Mortician, us, and Pyrexia, and there's two other bands on the bill. I can't remember offhand their
Okay.
names, but it'll be fun at the what was it, the Amityville Music Hall.
Yeah,
So look forward to there. It's been a while since we've been there, and yeah, I'm just always happy to play New York, and we'll see a lot of our Long Island friends, which will be
sure.
nice. And you know, one thing too is I always say it's very important, when bands do come to town or people your friends with come to town, it's always important to try your best to see them because you do never know if they're going to be around again.
You never know.
Especially I'm traveling so much, oh, one thing I wanted to bring up at that September Negro Fest, I was able to spend some time with Macabre, which I haven't spent time with for a while. And since all these passings have been happening, it was really great to be able to connect with those guys after so many years. And it was like we all just were able to go back and almost act like we're, in our early 20s again, just hanging out, and but it's great to be able to have those moments. I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting anything to happen bad with
No.
Macabre, but the fact of getting those moments that you get to spend with people are super important to do. And I try my best to do it. I sometimes get caught up in my own bullshit like everybody else does, but I definitely try my hardest to, appreciate, especially those longtime friends that you have, to appreciate those times.
For sure, for sure.
Hey, I was going on Facebook really quick. I was going to pull up the flyer for your show, and the first picture I seen that came up was the one you were talking about with you and
Yeah,
Will
I
and
just
Thomas.
shared it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Down there.
Slightly younger John McEntee. there.
Young and promising.
Yes. I have some more. I just couldn't find them on my phone. I
Yeah.
probably have about 4 or 5 other photos with them throughout the years.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's a classic one.
a huge loss to
Yes.
extreme metal, and what an influence and what a great guy he was. But we'll have to go on and make the best of things, and hopefully as this summer turns into fall, things turn around and I don't know. We get some good news for a while. Stay positive. I'm going to see Slayer on Saturday, as far as I know.
That's
Lord
good.
willing. I'll be in Hershey Park on Saturday. So I'm gonna be there if anybody's out, and say hello. And if you're in Middletown, come by Rock Fantasy and say hello there. And it's always good to have John McEntee on. He's one of the founding fathers of the Rock Fantasy Files. And then we got Danny Barth, who's been with us on the long run. We got Ovi and Count Ralph as its help, keeping it alive every week. So next week, we're going to come back and actually talk about Cliff Burton. So we will be back next Wednesday. And I know James will be back, and he requested a Cliff Burton episode. So we're going to talk about Cliff Burton next week. So we'll wrap this one up, and we'll see you next time on the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel. Go out and support the shows, buy the merch, do all that good shit. See you next time.
Don't be a poser.